Have your attention. This webinar is about to begin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning to all participants and also our distinguished guest speaker for today. Welcome to today's workshop on how to manage and deal with supervisors. We would like to thank everyone for participating in this international webinar and to the speaker for making time out of his schedule to give this workshop. Before we begin, on behalf of our organizer, I would like to remind all participants to make sure your mics are muted, especially when the speaker is presenting. This second free webinar series is organized by Office of International Affairs, OIA Division of Academic Affairs, UiTM Cawangan Melaka, co-organized with Center of Islamic Philanthropy and Social Finances, CIPCSF. UiTM Cawangan Melaka collaboration with our international strategic partner Universitas Negeri Semarang, Indonesia. This is our second workshop for this second free webinar series. We had our first workshop last Friday and our first webinar series last month, and due to the high request from the participant, here we are with the second series. We will be having a series of workshops all under the Masters and PhD related topics throughout these 3 months from July to September 2021. We will be having different speakers for different research topics from different research areas and from different research backgrounds, and all are related toward a progressive master's and PhD's journey. Alhamdulillah, we had followers from not only UiTM Cawangan Melaka, but from different campuses from all over Malaysia. We also have postgraduate participants from UUM, UPM, UKM, UPSI, and USIM, just to mention few. Thank you for following us. We hope that we can work together as a group to achieve our dreams, to become intellectuals with high qualification in academics. They say PhD is a lonely journey. I'm sorry, I have to disagree. This journey is not supposed to be lonely. Let's together make this journey not only it is not lonely, but it also fun. We offer small group discussions and mentoring. For those who are interested, you are invited to join our WhatsApp group chat, which we'll share at the end of this session. Welcome to today's workshop on how to manage and deal with your supervisors. We would like to thank everyone for participating in this international webinar and to the speakers for making time out for his schedule to give this workshop. Honorable Associate Professor Dr. Abdul Rauf Haji Ridzuan, distinguished guests, lecturers, and all participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good evening. Since we are still in the middle of pandemic outbreak, I hope everyone are safe and healthy. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping notes. Today's session is being recorded to be available for viewing post-conference. If you have any question, please use the chat features in the WebEx webinar for the speaker to answer after this session. I will then read the question for the presenters to answer. Now, allow me to introduce the speaker for today, Associate Professor Dr. Abdul Rauf Haji Ridzuan. He's a pioneer lecturer at Faculty of Communication and Media Studies at University Technology Mara, UiTM Melaka, and the alumnus of the faculty with a major in public relations. His research interests are on social media, sociology, public relations, and education. Without further ado, please welcome Professor Dr. Rauf to deliver the presentation. Doctor?
Okay, thank you, Miss Bella. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, especially to all the participants, I would like to say thank you first to the organizer for inviting me. Actually, to share my experience. Actually, today is more on sharing session. Okay, the topic that given to me is how to manage and deal with your supervisor. So for today's topic, actually, I'm going to share my experience as a student when I did my master, when I did my PhD, and my master at UiTM Shah Alam, and my PhD at University Putra Malaysia. And Alhamdulillah, now I'm also a supervisor for a few students. Right now, I have almost 10 students under my supervision for master and PhD. I also become supervisor not only for my faculty, but also for ACIS and for Art and Design faculty and 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 from other universities as a second supervisor. Okay, so anything actually you can ask during my sharing session, during my lecture. It's okay for you to ask and during at the middle of my lecture. Okay, now I'm going to share my slide. Share. Okay, can you see my slide now? Anyone? Can you see?
Yes, Doctor. Yes, Doctor, can be seen.
Okay, very good. Okay, how to manage and deal with your supervisor. Okay, I'm Dr. Abdul Rauf from Faculty of Communication and Media Studies. So first we go to the introduction. Before we go how we manage with your supervisor, we go to the introduction first. So the research supervision process of degree, bachelor, master degree, or doctor of philosophy, PhD does not have significant difference. What makes the difference is the level of research conducted. So for degree, for master, and for PhD, we have different level. So which basically for master and PhD is more depth compared to our degree program. So level of undergraduate research is not as extensive and in-depth as the field of study of graduate students. Now, that's why for master or PhD, we need to complete it within maybe 2 years or 3 years or more. Compared to our final year student for degree, they just can finish it in 1 semester. Okay. And then supervision can be meant as the process of monitoring. The supervisor need to monitor the students, assisting and motivating undergraduate research candidates obtain quality learning and learning outcome. And supervisor, they need to supervise the student. At the same time, they need to monitor their students. And so far, okay, Alhamdulillah, I can see my students' progress. Okay, but actually, although they have the same supervisor, but actually we have different character of students under my supervision. And some of them are very fast, some of them may be a little bit slow, some of them are very independent, and some of them maybe I need to monitor all the time. So we need to change the style. It depends to our student also. Or maybe the student also need to adjust and look at the supervisor itself. Either the supervisor are very lenient or very strict. And effective relationship between students and supervisors who guide students in research and projects preparation academically is an important indicator in determining students successfully producing research and project reports, their academics. So relationship between you and supervisor is very important. Make sure you have a very good relationship with your supervisor. If possible, try to choose your own supervisor that you already know, or maybe you ask someone, okay, who have experience with those supervisors, and then you do some research, and then after that you can do istikharah, and then you can choose him or her. Better you do some research before you choose that supervisor. If not, I'm afraid that you will get the supervisor that don't have chemistry with you. So therefore, in establishing an effective relationship, every individual involved needs to understand their respective responsibilities and be able to perform those responsibilities well. Okay, we move to another slide. Once again, it's about relationship. The relationship between student and supervisor can make the PhD journey a dream or a nightmare. Okay, be careful. Hopefully, it become our very nice dream, or we don't want to become our nightmare. And unfortunately, it's very hard to know how it will go before you start. So what happened to me? I did some research before I proceed with my PhD, and then suddenly I got this supervisor. Okay, because the university chose for me. I cannot choose my own supervisor during that time or my PhD. So what happened? I tried to do some research about the supervisor, and then I received more negative feedback about the supervisor. So what I did, okay, after I've done a few research, okay, tanya senior. So for my second semester, I asked to change my main supervisor. Okay, so that's our right, okay, to choose our own supervisor. So it's up to you. Either you want to teruskan, proceed with the supervisors that university have chosen for you, or maybe you have your own, okay, supervisor that you like to choose. Okay, actually, when you have this kind of relationship, when you have your supervisor, it's like an arranged marriage. Two people thrown together into a partnership that can last for many years. And much like a marriage, it takes more than just shared interest to make it work. Either you are very happy with your supervisor until at the end of your journey in your PhD, or maybe whatever it is, you still need to complete your PhD walaupun dengan cara yang susah. Okay, so you choose. If you have the opportunity to choose your supervisor, so I suggest for you to choose the correct supervisor. So be careful. Okay, if possible, try to choose within a 1 or 2 semesters. Don't change your supervisor at the end of the semester, at the end of when you are doing your final year, and then suddenly you want to choose. Itu dah tak elok lah, dah hujung sangat baru nak tukar. If you want to choose your supervisor, if you want to change your supervisor, tukar awal-awal. Maybe during your first semester or during your second semester. Okay, that is your right to change your supervisor. Yeah, that one through my experience when I did my PhD at UPM. So I have decided to change my supervisor after receipt of few feedbacks from my seniors and from my friends when I got this supervisor. Okay, best research training practices are to include a combination of various factors, among which are as follows. Okay, number 1, you must have skills and commitment supervisor. You are very lucky if you have a very skilled and commitment supervisor, because supervisors like me myself, I want my student, if possible, to graduate on time. Okay, that is my target. Okay, actually we have win-win situation. So I will help my students to ensure that my student will GOT, and then student also, of course, they want to GOT. So maybe some of the supervisors, maybe dia tak kisah nak graduate on time ke, tak graduate on time ke, okay ke tak okay, lantak hang lah. Or maybe some supervisor are like that. Maybe they have too many students, ataupun sebelum ni student dia dah ramai yang graduate, dia tak heran pun kalau you graduate on time ke tak on time. Okay, some supervisors, they're very concerned about this GOT. Okay, and then number 2, student abilities and commitment. We also need students who have very strong, okay, in terms of their academics and in terms of their commitment, and when they do their master or PhD. So we need this combination. And finally, the third one, the existence of clear policies or guidelines at the university level to address issues related to the candidate and ongoing research. This one at UiTM example, we have IPSIS. So IPSIS will help the students. Okay, ada subjek yang tak clear ke, ataupun ada problem borang yang you kena isi untuk cuti khas ke, borang yang you kena isi untuk laporan ke apa. So we need IPSIS to guide also our students. They need to play their parts. UiTM Johor Melaka, alhamdulillah, we have IPSIS since last year. Okay, before we proceed with the tips between the relationship between supervisor and the student, let's check first supervisor responsibilities and then student responsibilities. Okay, first we focus on what are the supervisor responsibilities. So generally, if a study conducted by a student covers more than one discipline of study, then typically students are assigned more than one supervisor according to the student field of research. Example, I also have student from ACIS, from ni bidang agama, ACIS Islamic punya filantropi apa. So this student actually they are doing research on communication, my area, and at the same time they put element of Islamic communication. So student ACIS ni, okay, dia ambil saya as a second supervisor because maybe kononnya saya ni expert sikit lah dalam bidang komunikasi, and then dia buat research dalam bidang Islamik. So they combine, so they have the supervisors from ACIS, Islamic punya faculties, and then they ask me to help him to become second supervisor, because they cover two area, communication dengan bahagian Islamik. Okay. Okay, in most cases, student will only be assigned one primary supervisor. If a student is assigned more than one supervisor, one of the supervisor will be primary supervisor and the other will be the second supervisor, like what we discussed before. So the important role of the supervisor is to advise. Okay, especially your main supervisor. And the main supervisor will advise more compared to the second or third supervisor. And sometimes maybe we have third supervisor, maybe we have one expertise in this area, so we need to add another supervisor. So tak mustahil kalau ada lebih daripada satu, dua atau tiga. So the important role supervisor is to advise, especially from the main supervisors, and because the main supervisor responsibility is very berat compared to second or third supervisor. So supervisors are necessary emphasizing aspects such as encouraging, motivating, and advising students in their research. So as a supervisor, we need always encourage our student. And sometimes we have ups and downs. And when I was student before this, saya pun mengalami masalah yang sama. Ada masa very motivated, okay, sangat bersemangat. Sometimes we feel very down, rasa nak putus asa, rasa nak berhenti. So during this time, our students need our help. Mungkin parents pun akan bagi sokongan, okay, husband atau wife pun akan bagi sokongan. And then the supervisor itself must help to encourage and to motivate their student. Student ni dia perlulah kita lihat juga. Mungkin student kita tak semuanya okay, ada masa tak okay. So some maybe I also have a student who got major correction during defense proposal. So during this time, we need to motivate him or her to proceed with their study. Then it is okay kalau your student dapat major, as long as your supervisor happy, tak apa, you have done your best, is okay, you just do it. InsyaAllah you can berjaya juga akhirnya. So actually our student, they need our motivation. Jangan kita downkan dia, kita lemahkan semangat dia, apa semua. So actually they really need our help when they are in this critical situation. Okay, motivating, encouraging, advising student in their research ni, semua ni actually, those things actually we need to learn. The supervisor also need to learn those skills. Kerana benda ni, they learn from experience. Maybe from my experience, saya pun pernah gagal. So when it happened to my student, so I know what I can do for my students. And sometimes this thing we cannot learn from the books. We learn from experience. So if something happen, so we know what we can do for our students. Okay. Okay, so look at the cartoon. So actually this thing also happened. Okay, before that, what do students expect from their supervisors? So these are the common answers. What students expect from their supervisors? I think my students also expect the same things from this, to be supervised. And they want to be supervised and be available. Okay, if possible, kalau ditanya je bila nak buat meeting, kalau boleh sentiasa bagi jawapan yang dia available. Kalau tak boleh hari ni, esok. Kalau tak boleh esok, lusa. As long as we still can, okay, ada masa untuk mereka. Be available. And then read work in a timely manner. Be engaged in their research. Get them a job and get them a job at the end. So when you look at the cartoon, sometimes this thing also happen. Saya pun kena faham lah dengan student saya. Example here, get this done as soon as possible. Itu benda yang saya selalu bagi kepada student. I give them the deadline. Kalau boleh siapkan ni minggu ni. Lepas siap minggu ni, minggu depan buat ni pula. So translation dia, you should have done this yesterday. Kalau boleh, supervisor tu memang nak cepat. Okay, itu dia punya pandangan. Tapi bila pula student bagi dia, so I will review your paper as soon as possible. Bila student pula dah bagi report, lecturer atau supervisor pula yang sometimes kadang-kadang lambat. Dia pun terlampau sibuk. Kadang-kadang bila students tu dia bagi contoh dia buat pembetulan, minta supervisor check. Okay, sometimes almost a month. And then student receive feedback. Barulah terima feedback after a month. Sometimes more than a month. Lebih pada 1 bulan. Kita dah buat correction. Dah hantar kepada supervisor. Bila kita minta supervisor check balik, sometimes it takes more than a month. Tu yang kadang-kadang kita kesian kat student. Sebab kita lambat, student pun nak cepat. Tapi kadang-kadang kita pun kata macam macam kartun ni katalah, I will review your paper as soon as possible. Dia punya translation tu I will get done sometime this century. Kadang-kadang kita pun sebagai supervisor, sebagai pensyarah, kita sibuk benda lain. Sometimes we put other things as priority and not student kita punya research ke apa ke. So this thing also happen. But what you can do actually, you can follow up with your supervisor. Kalau 2-3 kali tu minggu ni, patutnya minggu ni siap nak buat, nak hantar dokumen yang student dapat correction tu, sekali tak siap, minggu depannya follow up lah. Seminggu sekali boleh follow up. Jangan tiap hari you push supervisor tu. Doktor dah check belum? Esok call lagi, doktor dah check belum? Lusa dah check lagi, doktor dah check belum? And itu rasa annoying. Okay, jangan, kita pun kena ada empathy, kita pun kena ada soft skill when we deal with supervisors. At least you follow up maybe once a week, you kena faham supervisor pun sibuk. Tapi janganlah supervisor pun janganlah sampai sebulan, sebab it happened to me before. After more than 1 month, barulah supervisor saya kata, okay, you buat correction, okay. After more than 1 month, benda tu kita dah bagi lama, and then nak buat correction tu simple, sekejap aja. Nak buat correction tu sometimes it takes maybe less than a day, maybe less than 1 hour for us to do the correction. Tapi bila nak kita pass balik dekat supervisor, and then we want to receive from his or her feedback, after 1 month baru dapat feedback. Padahal benda tu simple aja. So it happened to me when I was student. So sekarang saya dah jadi supervisor, kalau boleh saya pun tak suka kalau student saya tertunggu-tunggu. Dr. Rauf dah check ke belum? Dr. Rauf dah tengok dah pembetulan yang saya buat. Yang kalau boleh paling lewat pun seminggu lah. So far kalau student saya bagi something, minta saya check, if possible less than 1 week saya dah bagi feedback. Okay, or else maybe my students need to remind me. So dah 1 minggu doktor terlupa kot. Mungkin ada masa kita terlupa, but so far saya rasa jaranglah saya terlupa bila student minta kita semak. Okay, so actually here I have a few students in my webinar session today. Some of them are my future students and some are my student yang tengah buat PhD and master. Okay, so ni luahan saya dah you boleh dengar juga. Okay. So next, supervisor should advise students in obtaining literature, motivate students, and reach agreement about the selection of the study title, study objective, scope of the study, designing the conceptual framework of the study, study methodology, methods and formats of writing, explanation of research and training ideas, as well as support courses required by students for conduct research effectively. So this one also actually our responsibility as supervisor, bukan mudah banyak benda. But actually it depends to individual, to the supervisors. Tak semua supervisor macam ni. Sometimes you may get supervisor yang really want you to work independently. Research you cari sendiri, tajuk sendiri, problem statement sendiri, research question, research objective sendiri. Some supervisors like me, mungkin saya suka bincang dengan student. Okay, ni problem statement macam ni, saya bincang dengan student. Okay, saya setuju, student pun setuju. Research question rasanya macam ni sesuai, macam ni tak sesuai. So research objective dia macam ni. Framework dia saya ajar student, and then student tu cuba lukis. Okay, so setengah supervisor dia macam tu. Kadang-kadang ala-ala spoon feed sikit. Okay, but that's my style. Okay, but some supervisors, everything student kena buat sendiri. So PT them lah. Kadang-kadang saya dapat students yang tak formal sometimes I also advise some students and postgraduate students. They are not my students, not under my supervision, tapi mereka kenal daripada kawan-kawan. So mereka pun cuba dapatkan pandangan saya as a lecturer lah yang ada pengalaman untuk research. So diorang tanya saya, okay tak saya buat questionnaire macam ni? Okay tak kalau saya punya problem statement macam ni? Kadang-kadang supervisor dia langsung tak tengok questionnaire dia. Dia minta saya tolong check. Tu unfortunately if you have this kind of supervisor, susah sikit lah, agak mencabar sebab everything you do it by your own. So you banyak minta tolong orang luar rather than from your own supervisor. Macam saya kalau boleh biarlah student saya yang banyak bantu compare daripada orang luar yang bantu. And sometimes saya tengok dia ada supervisor dia tapi supervisor dia tak membantu sangat, and then dia terpaksa mencari bantuan daripada pensyarah-pensyarah luar. So this thing also happen. So bagi saya nasib lah tapi macam saya kata, kalau you kenal supervisor karakter dia macam ni tak berapa membantu, better carilah supervisor yang membantu. Okay, tapi kalau dah hujung-hujung tahun dah 3 tahun buat PhD baru nak tukar supervisor, mungkin agak terlambat sikit lah sebab dah rugi masa kat situ. So supervisor should also provide feedback by reviewing the draft writing, constructively criticizing and commenting critically on the draft chapter by chapter until completed all chapters. Supervisor should be responsible in providing guidance to students. So that will be our responsibility as a supervisor. To be honest, if something happen to my students, my students mungkin dapat major correction. So implikasi itu not only to the student of course sedih. Me as a supervisor also sangat sedih. Tempias dia kena dekat saya sebagai supervisor because I have supervising him or her for long time, mungkin 1 semester, 2 semester, kita orang dah buat betul-betul, kita orang dah confident, kita orang dah check, kita minta doktor lain untuk semak, untuk buat pilot ataupun kita buat mock presentation and mock defense proposal. And then kita tengok nampak okay, and then suddenly tak ada rezeki student, still got major correction. So kesan dia is not only for the student. Saya kalau sebagai pensyarah, sebagai supervisor yang berhati perut, tempias tu memang kena kat saya. So during this time, I also need to motivate my students. Okay, at the same time, my colleague, my friend also bagi nasihat kat saya, tak apa Raoul, sabar, insyaAllah adik kemah dia. So kita sama-sama melaluinya. Itu bagi saya seorang supervisor yang betul-betul rapat dengan student. So apa yang berlaku kat student tu, supervisor, pensyarah pun terasa sama. Cubit kaki kiri, kanan pun terasa, macam tu istilah dia. So for me, that's a good supervisor lah. Sebab kita sama-sama pada masa susah dan senang when our students do their PhD. Okay, if the supervisor is unable to assist the students when involving matters outside the supervisor's area of expertise, the supervisor should be necessary refer students as soon as possible to other individuals as deemed appropriate. So that is our job as supervisor. Kadang-kadang ada part tu kita tak faham. Kenapa salah my students dah buat pembentangan macam ni, dia kata salah. Okay, I think this is my responsibility to help my student. I need to discuss with my example, I discuss with my previous supervisor, my former supervisor. So I call my supervisor, former yang dekat UPM tu, saya tanya dia, student saya macam ni, yang Prof ajar macam ni, saya ikut macam ni, tapi bila student saya guna cara macam ni, waktu pembentangan tu dia kata salah. So kita cuba dapatkan feedback. And then I try to call professor from other university, from other faculties. Betul ke metodologi ni salah, cara ni salah? Because we receive feedback, bila kita buat defense proposal, dia kata salah. So kita cubalah dapatkan justification. And then kalau dia kata tak apalah, at the end kita ikut je apa yang panel kata, kita hormat pandangan panel. So kita pun ikut. But at the same time, kita kena pujuk student. Actually, school of thought tak sama. Saya mengajar you macam ni, tapi lecturer lain kata benda ni tak sesuai, dia kata salah. So for me, that is the matter of school of thought yang berbeza. Tak apa. I told my student, yang penting your supervisor happy with you, happy with your progress, everything you did very well. So kalau still dapat major ke, orang kata salah ke, it's okay. Kita buat the correction as long as I'm very happy with your progress. Itu saya rasa peranan supervisor tu kepada student tu, supaya student tak rasa down. And then saya selalu cakap dengan student, tolonglah jangan berhenti. Once you have start to do your master or PhD, no turning back. You dah daftar, you dah bayar, you dah sacrifice your time, you have sacrifice your money, your energy, and then suddenly you want to quit. So please lah, kalau you dah decide nak further your study, dah daftar, tolong dah teruskan. Jangan berhenti. Unless situasi yang berbeza. Situasi tu mungkin you sakit, sentiasa sakit, mungkin you perlu berhenti kot, tak sesuai untuk belajar. Okay, ataupun you memang dah ada mental illness, you dapat ada kes kematian, kehilangan, you dah tak boleh nak fokus, dah ni, mungkin you boleh berehat dulu 1 semester, mungkin boleh sambung selepas 1 semester, ataupun mungkin pemikiran ni kecelaru, ada masalah besar, dah tak boleh settle. I think that one, better you settle down your problem first, and then dah settle semua, baru we proceed with your PhD. So that is my advice to my students. Okay, so far nak tanya soalan ke? So boleh saya proceed? So far okay
dekat chat ada soalan.
Okay, so bolehlah berhenti sekejap, kita layan dulu soalan.
Okay, the question is, how can you research the background your potential supervisor if he is from a university that you have never been to?
Okay, that's why if possible, okay, when you choose your supervisor, Okay, you can ask your seniors, maybe someone yang pernah buat research bawah dia, and then you look at his or her profile. Mungkin dekat Google Scholar tu ada profile dia, mungkin ada resume dia. You tengok banyak student yang graduate bawah dia. Maknanya dia seorang yang, siapa buat PhD dengan dia, master bawah dia, ramai yang graduate. Okay, maybe that's one of the tips. Or maybe you just ask your seniors and yang student-student pernah buat under him or under her, you buat the research. Unless example, if you do research, if you do your PhD at overseas, mungkin tak kenal dia. So when you tak kenal dia, you study him in one semester, tengok macam mana rentak dia, rasa kalau ada chemistry, so you can proceed with him or with her. If you think that during one semester ni, rasa annoying, you rasa dia rigid sangat, rasa tak boleh bagi muka kat you, terlampau keras, okay, jangan sampai student boleh itulah, sampai boleh stress tu, sampai mental illness, sampai depression, sampai ada yang meninggal. Kita tak nak lagi buat PhD sampai stress macam tu. Kalau you rasa benda tu actually insting tu ada, you ada chemistry ke tak boleh chemistry, kalau you tak kenal dia. Kalau rasa in one semester, at least in 5 months, 6 months, you rasa ada chemistry, boleh berkawan rapat dengan dia, I think boleh buat PhD dengan dia. Okay, tapi dalam satu semester tu you cuba mengenali dia, and then setiap kali WhatsApp dia, dia tak reply, setiap kali tanya dia, dia nak cepat, setiap kali buat sesuatu, dia macam tak endah-endah kat you. So you boleh baca dah, mungkin dia tak sesuai jadi supervisor dengan keadaan dia sekarang. Okay, so that's my personal point of view. Okay, tengok dia punya latar belakang. Kalau latar belakang dia, kalau dia pun jenis yang ramai student, kadang-kadang kita beritahu, ada lecturer tu ramai student nak buat master PhD bawah dia. Ada lecturer tu tak ada student nak buat. Kalau diberi pilihan, semua student tak nak pilih dia. Macam kita jadi lecturer ni, ada lecturer yang disukai student sebab lecturer tu ramah, lecturer tu senang nak dekat dengan student. Tapi ada lecturer yang mungkin tak berapa ramah, so student dengan dia tak berapa happy sangat, sentiasa serius saja. So actually you boleh buat research sikit. Try to ask your senior if you have seniors, and then if you have seniors, you just do your own research. Is there any question? Is my answer your question?
That question was from Taufik, but there's no any other question dah.
Okay, thank you for the question, Cik Taufik. Okay, so I can proceed next. So an active supervisor needs to understand that each of the student is different in terms of academic abilities, motivations, attitude, and personalities. Like me, I have a few students. I have almost 10 students now for my master and PhD. Some of them are younger than me, 30 plus. Some of them are 40 plus. Some of them are 50 this year, okay, or maybe 50 then. So they have different character, okay, different attitude, different motivation because of their age, because of their experience, because of their background. So me as a supervisor, saya kena faham juga, and then student pun kena faham juga lah, kena cuba sesuaikan diri dia, meletakkan diri dia dan cuba serasikan dengan saya. Maybe supervisor dia muda daripada dia, maybe supervisor dia jauh tua daripada dia, so sama-sama kena sesuaikan diri, as long as you can have good relationship, ada chemistry. Sepanjang perjalanan you buat PhD. So macam kata dia macam perkahwinan, dalam when we supervise our student, when we become his or her supervisor, ada masa when we are very close, we tend to become more sensitive. Mudah terasa, saya sebagai supervisor pun terasa dengan dia sebab dah sangat rapat. And then maybe the students also dah mungkin terasa sensitif, terasa dengan saya sebab terlalu rapat. And then now I have, contoh makin lama student makin bertambah. Dulu mungkin yang saya supervise mungkin seorang dua orang. And then kena ingat sekarang anak saya dah ramai. So kasih sayang tu kena dibagi-bagi. So mungkin yang sulung, yang nombor 2 mungkin terasa, orang mungkin dia rasa dah tak ada masa dengan dia. Dr. Rauf dah sibuk sangat, dah pegang jawatan KPP lagi. So benda tu mungkin proses tu kita kena lalui. Macam mana nak adjust, okay, dengan supervisor yang mungkin kadang-kadang sibuk, and then supervisor tu pula dah ramai anak, dah ramai student bawah dia. Macam mana yang setiap student tu perlu diberi perhatian yang sama, and then macam mana setiap student kena mainkan peranan untuk menarik perhatian supervisor. Tu ada ups and down tu during this kind of relationship. Yang serupa juga bila kita ada anak seorang, anak tunggal. So layanan tu sangat dimanjakan. Anak pertama kan. So bila dah anak macam saya dah masuk anak 5 ni, so dah kurang sikit dah. Yang pertama tu pun perhatian tu dah kurang sikit sebab kena bagi perhatian kepada adik-adik juga. Okay, so that thing happen also to my student, supervisor and supervisee. Okay. Okay, itu yang kita kata kena tukar style kan. Such supervisor are able to help student better in their research. Okay, next. So the most important role of the supervisor is to hold a meeting between the student and the supervisor or supervisor together with other members of the supervisory committee to clarify supervisory expectation from the supervisor's point of view and also students. And we need to have meeting. So before PKP, before this, okay, kita selalu buat meeting. I prefer if my students can meet me physically at my office. Okay, supaya saya lebih menerangkan dengan lebih baik, dengan lebih berkesan, dengan lebih confident. Boleh conteng-conteng kertas dia, boleh lukis-lukis graf, lukis research framework, salahkan pangkah yang tu, pangkah yang ni, lebih kepuasan tu lebih dirasai compare when I'm doing now. Okay, supervise online ni pakai Google Meet ni, kepuasan tu kurang sikit, but at least kita still kena supervise student kita walaupun dah bukan face to face sekarang. Tapi meeting ni perlu ada. So I told my student if possible buatlah sebulan sekali. Tak dapat yang bagusnya sebulan 2 kali, tak dapat sebulan sekali. Jangan dah 2-3 bulan atau 1 semester baru sekali jumpa. So I have this student yang memang sangat jarang, 2-3 bulan pun tak. So luckily dia ambil cuti khas. Dia kata nak perlu uruskan perniagaan suami dia, bantu suami dia apa semua. So dia pun ambil cuti khas. So saya pun okay, memang patutlah sebab dia pun dah tak boleh fokus commute dengan dia punya PhD. Okay, tapi kalau you buat betul-betul, if possible, at least once a month tu mesti you update your progress with your supervisors. Okay, and then supervisors need to break the deadlock of students by holding relatively frequent meeting and encouraging two-way communication throughout the supervisory process takes place. And need to break the deadlock. So kalau boleh, kalau student ni dalam kebuntuan, dia stuck, dia dah bela sampai mana, so ini peranan penting supervisor untuk memecahkan kebuntuan tu. So jangan expect dia untuk menyelesaikan masalah tu sendiri. Macam saya kata, ada pensyarah, ada supervisor yang betul-betul biar student dia cari penyelesaian sendiri. You fikir sendiri problem statement you apa, you fikir sendiri apa RQ you fikir kalau dah stuck, apa research gap, apa semua, you fikir sendiri, cari sendiri, you selesaikan sendiri. Mungkin dia nak mungkin zaman dia buat PhD, mungkin cara supervisor dia, pengalaman dia macam tu. So dia sangat independent waktu buat PhD. So bila dia jadi supervisor, so the same thing will happen to his or her student. So dia akan biarkan student tu struggle sebab dia rasa bila student tu cari sendiri, struggle sendiri, dia akan nak menampakkan student tu akan lebih matang, lebih independent, nampak lebih, bagi dia lebih baik yang macam tu. So for me that is personal punya view lah. Depends to supervisor. Mungkin setengah supervisor suka yang macam tu. Macam saya bukan supervisor yang macam tu. Saya suka kalau boleh bantu, saya nak bantu student saya tak nak biarkan student saya terbelenggu lama. So during this time actually you also need your, if this thing happen with you, so you need to have your friends. Okay, apa kita kena panggil, kita punya orang panggil apa, support system tu kena kuat. Kalau support system tu you don't have from your own supervisor, try to get your support system from your friends ataupun from your colleagues yang sama-sama tengah buat PhD, yang sama-sama tengah buat master, or maybe your own parents yang boleh motivate you untuk teruskan mencari penyelesaian, bantu you untuk tak putus asa, tak putus semangat, tak give up. Okay, so support system is very important. Okay, so kalau nak berjaya, support system mesti kuat. Tak semestinya daripada family kita je, kadang-kadang kawan-kawan kita pun can be our very strong support system in order for us to complete our PhD. So macam panel kata tadi, PhD is not a lonely journey. So siapa yang lonely journey tu maknanya something wrong with your process. Proses tu tak kena. When I did my PhD, okay, alhamdulillah my fakulti dia bagi kelonggaran. Seminggu sekali saya pergi ke MMU. Saya lecturer UiTM Alor Gajah, seminggu sekali saya belajar ke MMU. Ada lecturer tu nama Dr. Abu Said. Okay, Mansur Abu Said bantu saya. So seminggu sekali saya akan jumpa, ada kelonggaran untuk Jumaat saya tak ada kelas. So saya perlu pergi ke MMU Bukit Beruang. So itu pun salah satu cara macam mana menyiapkan saya punya PhD. Sebab saya kadang-kadang saya dalam kebuntuan, nak jumpa supervisor time tu dekat UPM, nak pergi jauh. Okay, so saya cuba cari yang dekat juga. Minta bantuan daripada kawan daripada MMU, and then I also ask my friend to help me. Macam saya terus terang saya kata, kita punya Prof Syafina, kita punya Timbalan Rektor Pendidikan pun pernah bantu saya sepanjang saya buat PhD. Dr. Fadli, KPP, yang Fakulti Bisnes tu pun, waktu sebelum dia KPP, sebelum Prof Syafina ni profesor, sebelum dia Timbalan Rektor, mereka ni memang antara orang yang banyak bantu saya lah. So bila kita tengok, bila dia bantu kita tengok seorang dah jadi timbalan rektor, seorang dah jadi KPP. So maknanya dia pemudahkan orang, Allah pun pemudahkan urusan dia sebagai timbalan rektor and KPP. So when now I become supervisor, saya pun cuba buat benda yang sama. Kita permudahkan kerja orang, kita permudahkan student kita bantu student kita, insya-Allah one day Allah akan permudahkan urusan kita. Tak perlu kita harap student kita yang balas, insya-Allah Allah yang balas. Okay, so break the deadlock ni penting. Kita tak nak student kita stuck lama, tak tahu apa dia buat, and then dia rasa stress, and then dia rasa nak meletup. Saya ada kawan yang tengah buat PhD at UUM. Okay, dia call saya, dia kata dia stress sangat, dia jam. Dia dah mati akal, dia rasa dia nak quit. Dia rasa macam dia nak pitam, dia rasa nak dapat darah tinggi, macam-macam dia kata dengan saya. Saya kata dia dalam situasi yang perlukan sokongan. Dia dulu saya punya rakan satu batch waktu buat degree dulu, sekarang dia buat PhD. Dia bukan lecturer, dia orang industri tapi dia buat PhD. So dia pun dalam kebuntuan. So bila dan kemudian kita dengar jalan masalah dia, and then kita bagilah advice. Okay, sebenarnya actually the process untuk buat PhD ni proses sebenarnya. Proses PhD tu. Actually what you will gain, actually experience when you do your PhD. Experience tu yang penting sebenarnya. Tak kisahlah you siap cepat ke lambat ke, tapi pengalaman buat PhD tu yang berharga. Okay, that's the learning process. Itu yang you dapat sebenarnya. Bukan setakat dapat sijil pakai topi burger saja. Pengalaman buat PhD tu yang paling berharga. Okay, if you ask me, PhD ni tak susah. Dia jadi susah sebab you tak familiar. You tak biasa buat research. Tak biasa buat construct questionnaire, edar questionnaire, buat analisis, belajar formula tu, formula ni. So you rasa PhD tu susah. Tapi one day, bila you dah dapat PhD, you know the process, tahu nak buat research. Selepas PhD, insyaAllah lebih banyak research you buat. Sekarang ni you cuba buat satu research untuk tempoh 3 tahun. Okay, once you have completed your PhD, you can do more than 3 research in a year. Sekarang ni 3 tahun buat satu research. Habis je PhD nanti dapat doktor, you boleh buat research 1 tahun lebih pada 3 research. Sebelum ni 3 tahun satu. Yang terbalik pula. Okay, that one through my experience. Sebab kita dah tahu proses buat PhD macam mana, nak kira data macam mana, nak buat analisis macam mana. So senang dah buat research. Okay, so nak carikan ilmu tu, pengalaman nak buat research itulah yang you akan gunakan after you have completed your PhD. So insyaAllah after you have gained your master PhD, lagi senang buat research. Itu yang saya advise kalau yang buat master tu, kalau boleh terus buat PhD sebab ilmu research dia masih segar. Kalau dah lama stop buat master and then nak buat PhD, dia kena study banyak benda balik. Dia kena refresh banyak benda. So far any question moderator atau saya boleh proceed?
So far there's no question dekat chat ni, so
Okay, thank you. Saya proceed. Okay, now tadi saya cerita supervisor punya responsibility. Now I'm going to share what are your responsibility as a student, as a postgraduate students. So it is the students who are the main movers to ensure that the research runs smoothly and can be completed within a specified period. So lepas ni kalau you berjaya dapat your master, your PhD, 99% come from you, your own efforts. Maybe supervisor ni mungkin dari saya maybe 1%, paling banyak pun maybe 5% yang saya bantu student saya. The rest 95% from their own efforts. Kalau saya supervise, saya bagi semangat, saya bagi galakan, tunjukkan framework, tunjukkan problem statement, for me that is 5% or less. That I can share with my student. One day if you finish your PhD, you finish your master, 95% actually come from you. 99% come from you. Your own effort, you yang alhamdulillah Tuhan bagi rezeki, you berjaya siapkan master PhD. Supervisor ni cuma bantu sikit saja. So, kena ingat apa-apa bergantung kepada you. So, do not blame 100% to other factors, to your supervisor apa semua. You sendiri pun kena mampukan buat PhD ke habis ke tak habis ke.
Tengok ni macam mana nak tengok dia punya skrin ni. Skrin tak nampak? Tak tahu macam
mana. Ada orang
tak
nampak skrin
betul. Mana? Mana tak skrin?
So macam mana moderator boleh bantu tak? Tak apa, slide saya pun saya share dengan moderator. Nanti moderator boleh email lah kepada semua peserta. Kalau you all nak slide ni saya boleh kongsikan.
And this meeting pun dah record. So nanti boleh tengok post conference.
Okay, nanti dia bagi link untuk tengok balik ataupun boleh dapatkan saya punya slide lah. Slide saya dah bagi dah kepada organizer. So boleh share, tak kisah pun boleh share slide ni. Okay, boleh sebar-sebarkan. Semoga saya dapat pahala panjangan. Okay, so students need to identify the title of the study with the consent of the supervisor and conduct initial reading. In obtaining the title of the study, it is different for each discipline of study. So for science discipline, it is the supervisor who triggers the idea by obtaining, identifying the resources and need to conduct the study. Itu kalau bidang sains lah. Ataupun kalau saya ada research grant. Kalau saya ada research grant, topik tu saya dah bagi kat student. Nak tak nak student kena buat ikut topik saya. Tapi kalau kita bidang sains sosial, topik itu biasa based from your own interest. Student saya ada yang nak buat kaji pasal social media pasal vaksin, ada yang kaji pasal social media dengan vaksin, ada yang kaji pasal social media and marketing, ada yang kaji pasal, ada banyak benda tapi kait dengan Maxcom jugalah. So that one is up to them. Dia minat nak kaji apa, buatlah. Tapi kalau dah dapat grant atau bidang sains ni biasanya supervisor dah identify siap-siap topik apa yang you kena buat. So in contrast, social science discipline where students are required to obtain their own title of the study to be conducted. Kita sebagai supervisor ni actually we just supervise our students. Yang penting kita bagi chance lah student pilih tajuk bagi dia enjoy. Melainkan saya kata tadi, kita dah ada grant, so student kita dah jadi GRA, kita bayar gaji kat dia. So dia kenalah buat ikut tajuk yang kita dapat, tajuk grant yang kita dapat tu. So itu je beza dia. Okay, now the question is, what do supervisors expect from their students? Okay, saya tengok ada benarnya. If possible, I want my students to be independent. Dia boleh, betul-betul saya bagi je arahan dia buat, saya bagi je arahan dia boleh buat. Okay, tapi kalau dia tak faham, dia boleh tanya, saya bantu je lah. Tapi kalau dia boleh buat sendiri, dia just tanya saya, okay ke doktor saya buat macam ni? Saya tengok, okay. So tak adalah kita pening sangat. Tapi dia terlampau tanya banyak soalan ni, dia tanya. Kadang-kadang kita pening juga. Benda yang terlampau simple pun dia tanya. Sikit-sikit pening tu lah. Tapi kita tak boleh kata tak boleh. Kita terus layankan je soalan-soalan dia tanya tu. Memanglah kalau dia nak independence. Tapi kalau tak independence, of course kita sebagai supervisor patut kena bantu. Okay, high standard of writing. Kalau boleh kita tengok student kita, bila kita baca seronok. Tak adalah banyak grammatical error, ayat tu salah, ayat ni salah, perkataan salah je. Okay, so effect juga tu. And then regular meetings, honest reporting, tak adalah copy paste sangat. Jangan banyak copy paste, honest reporting, advice will be followed. Ini paling penting. Kita dah cakap tolong buat pembetulan ini, tolong betulkan itu, tolong betulkan ini, tiba-tiba student tu dia ikut suka hati dia, kepala tak dengar kita punya nasihat, kita punya cadangan. Itu benda tu is a little bit sensitive. Okay, sometimes we tend to have student kita tapi dia dengar pandangan, pendapat pesara lain. So kadang-kadang kita pun rasa kita cakap macam ni tapi dia dengar pandangan orang lain. Kadang-kadang kita sebagai supervisor terasalah juga sikit. Sikit-sikit tu terasalah. Kenapalah dia tak dengar kat kita. Kita rasa cara macam ni yang betul. Tapi dia kata dia suka cara macam ni. Dia tanya orang lain. Saya tak apalah, it's up to you. Tapi kalau you want to maintain your good relationship with supervisor, supervisor dan nasihat macam tu, A tu ikutlah cara A. If possible. Sebab you are under him or her. Dia supervisor you, bukan orang lain. So kalau boleh, nak minta cadangan boleh. Kalau okey, boleh tak doktor, kalau saya rasa saya suka yang macam ni, ada orang bagi cadangan. Kalau doktor tu boleh terima, tak apalah. Takut setengah supervisor tu tak boleh terima. Dia dah bagi cadangan A, tapi tetap nak ikut yang B. Itu mungkin ada masalah sikit nanti. And then we want our student to be excited and fun to be around. Dan kita nak student kita ni bersemangat buat PhD. Sentiasa ada aura positif, positive vibes. Okey doktor, saya dah ada rancang nanti saya nak buat. Okey doktor, saya ingat saya nanti nak submit paper dekat sini. Saya ingat nanti saya nak buat konsep paper. Ada student saya dah pergi conference, ada publish paper dekat Scopus. Walaupun baru satu semester, baru 1-2 semester dah ada paper, dah ada conference, dah ada Scopus. Ada student saya tu baru satu semester dah 3 Scopus. So saya rasa bagus ni. Esok nanti one day dia dah dapat very good impression daripada penyemak. Bila one day kalau dia submit untuk final nanti, hopefully dengan 3 Scopus tu dapatlah macam adalah bonus mark sikit. Bagus student ni, dia dah banyak menulis, Scopus pun dah accept paper dia. Takkanlah kita yang supervisor panel-panel kita ni takkanlah asyik nak reject, nak menolak saja. Padahal paper dia di peringkat Scopus pun, WOS pun dah accepted. Itu yang kalau saya galakkan student PhD saya, kalau boleh sambil-sambil buat PhD tu, sambil-sambil tu pergilah present, pergilah involve with conference and publish dekat Scopus, dekat WS, supaya nak meningkatkan you punya keupayaan tu in term of your writing. Sebab bila hantar Scopus, of course kadang-kadang you kena buat correction. you submit to WS Web of Science, ada correction. So actually you learn a lot from this publication yang WS dengan Scopus tadi. Okay. That one if possible. If you can, that one Scopus dengan WS ni tak semestinya empirical research yang dah mesti ada data. You buat concept paper, you buat systematic literature review, pun dah boleh submit untuk Scopus, submit untuk Web of Science. Boleh je. Siapa kata empirical research dah ada finding, dah ada data, baru boleh submit Scopus. Concept paper pun boleh dapat Scopus. Okay, Q1 lagi. Okay, ini ceramah yang saya dengar daripada Dr. Hairul. 2 kali saya dengar ceramah dia last week. Percuma kan last week ceramah Dr. Hairul. Okay, so 2 kali saya dengar ceramah dia. So, however, for undergraduate students who are just getting used to conducting research, the supervisor will help identify areas of study that are felt to be appropriate to the students concerned. Okay, ini untuk undergraduate ni biasanya supervisor lah yang banyak bantu. Okay, dia akan bagi topik macam student degree saya ni pun, saya bagi idea. Why not you buat tajuk ni, topik ni tengah hangat ni pasal vaksin-vaksin ni, pasal COVID-19 ni, banyak tengah hangat sekarang ni. Why not you do this kind of topic? Mungkin tajuk saya lah. Sebab student tak boleh nak fikir tajuk apa yang penting. Dia orang pun tak baca sangat apa yang berlaku kat Malaysia ni. So student need to prepare a literature review, identify research problem, prepare a conceptual framework for the study and identify appropriate methodologies. Okay, student master PhD ni actually saya dah cakap dengan student, my expertise is on quantitative research. Saya suka student saya buat survey. Okay, so student saya nak tak nak, if you want to do under my supervision, you need to do quantitative research. Kena buat survey. Tapi kalau you suka qualitative, suka interview, suka focus group, suka observation, I think I cannot be your main supervisor. Cari orang yang memang kepakaran dia memang kuantitatif. Terus terang saya cakap. Actually last week je saya terima 3 permohonan daripada China. UiTM ni dah start terima ramai student Cina postgraduate. 3 saya reject. Yang bagi saya sebab yang kawan saya yang menunggu saya jadi supervisor pun ni ramai tengah tunggu turn. So saya nak ambil yang student Cina ni kan takut ada masalah. I'm afraid in term of communication. Takut kita cakap macam ayam dengan itik. So T3 ni saya reject. Okay, kita postgraduate Shah Alam sana ada buka link untuk orang Cina-Cina ni email kat kita, boleh tak kita jadi supervisor. So far for international student ni saya tak berapa nak terima lagi, belum ready untuk terima. Melainkan area dia betul-betul bidang saya, betul-betul membuat quantitative research, baru saya boleh terima kot. Kalau dia buat bidang tiba-tiba berkaitan yang bukan social media, dia nak kaji TV. TV pun meskom juga, tapi saya tak pernah kaji TV, saya kaji social media, pun saya tak terima. Nak buat dengan saya mesti ada kaitan dengan social media, mesti metodologi tu more dengan kuantitatif. Saya pun memilih juga bukan semua student yang ambil saya terima. Saya tengok topik dulu. Yang baru-baru ni ada fakulti OM atau fakulti business, lecture OM minta. Saya pun office management. Saya tengok topik dulu. Saya tak immediately saya akan accept, okay, saya akan jadi supervisor tak. Saya tengok tak berkenaan, you tak buat kuantitatif, better you cari orang lain. Kalau kemahiran you perlukan seseorang yang ada kemahiran kuantitatif, buat survey, buat analisis SPSS, and then I can be your supervisor. Kalau you tak ke arah situ, I maybe can be your second supervisor. So second supervisor kita tak rasa burden sangat. So tanggungjawab besar dia lebih kepada main supervisor. Second supervisor ni student mungkin tak jumpa. Mungkin satu semester 2 kali 3 kali dia jumpa. Ni our advice. Most of the time they with their main supervisor. Student saya ni pun saya yakin kebanyakannya most of the time diorang banyak consultation dengan saya je. Walaupun they have their second supervisor, mungkin tak berapa nak communicate sangat. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because it also happened to me when I was student. Waktu saya student dulu pun, saya jarang communicate dengan second or third supervisor. Bila saya buat PhD kat UPM, kita ada 3 supervisor. Main, second, third. Second, third tu mungkin kita buat meeting sebulan sekali. Okay, tapi dengan main ni kalau boleh, selalulah at least minggu sekali, 2 minggu sekali, kita akan sentiasa update with our supervisors. So student will also need to submit all writing work to the supervisor and co-supervisor at the time already set to the supervisor is able to give further instruction. So student also have a role to ensure each draft will be sent to the supervisor has been checked according to the prescribed format, free from the spelling errors, and check the grammar first. Betul. Benda ni, before you ask me to check your draft, ask someone to check and to do proofread first. Okay, so kita nak check, nak cari apa masalah dia, problem statement dia betul ke tak, RQ dia betul ke tak, dia punya signifikan betul ke tak. Tiba-tiba terpaksa tengok benda lain. Ini formatting salah ni, ini kena justify ni, ini citation reference salah ni, ini grammar salah ni. Dia dah tak boleh fokus. You kalau dah dari segi format you dah ikut, dari segi grammar dah okey, dah proof semua, so bolehlah supervisor fokus on your research, tengok you punya research gap, tengok you punya metodologi, fokus yang itu saja. Kita nak fokus yang itu, tapi tiba-tiba ini format dah tak betul, ini grammar salah, ini, so dia tak boleh fokus nak tengok research je, dia kena tengok benda lain. Tu yang kadang-kadang dia jadi lama sikit. Okay, it takes time to supervise with this kind of project paper and research. Students are also responsible for ensuring that sufficient time has been allocated for the purpose of writing the final draft, editing, and to obtain approval from the supervisor principal, co-supervisor, or committee members. So in general, student responsibility should focus on title selection, research planning, obtaining literature, conducting research, analyzing data, and write a report. So yang keseluruhan ni saya nak cakap, as a PhD student, as a master student, you know what is your topic area, please read a lot with your topic. Okay, banyak baca. So you banyak idea topik apa yang nak buat tu. Kalau nak buat pasal COVID-19, kena banyak baca pasal COVID-19. You nak baca pasal social media, kena banyak baca pasal social media. Look at your variables. So you focus that thing. Okay, jangan orang tanya you vaksin sekarang apa yang kita pakai kat Malaysia, 3 jenis vaksin tu. Entah saya tak ingat lah doktor ini. Sebab itu bidang you. Sepatutnya when you do that research, you will expert in that area, not your supervisor. Supervisor just guide you to do that research. Tapi yang bakal jadi expert bidang tu adalah you, not your supervisor. Okay, supervisor just supervise you. One day, contoh you buat tajuk vaksin. Lepas ni kalau orang interview tanya pasal vaksin, you doktor buat PhD tajuk pasal vaksin, so you lah orang yang sesuai yang akan cerita pasal vaksin. Penerimaan dia, okay, dia punya level acceptance, level of rejection ke apa tu, you yang lebih tahu, not your supervisor. And not your supervisor tumpang-tumpang aja. The expert is yours. You sendiri yang buat research tu. Bukan supervisor membantu saja. So jangan expect semua supervisor yang kena buat. Sebenarnya tu research you, one day you will become the expertise in that area, not your supervisor. Okay. Okay, finally. Okay, this will be our last topic. Okay, tajuk macam deal with your supervisor tadi. Actually more on relationship. Manage and deal with a supervisor. A good relationship is a combination of personal and professional. So there are element of professional tu mesti ada. Between you, you still need to respect your supervisor. Walaupun supervisor tu muda daripada you. Okay, at the same time, the supervisor also need to respect the students lah. Kalau student tu pun lebih tua. So we respect each other. So we need to become professional relationship. At the same time, combination of personal pun ada. Akak dah makan, akak okay. Okay, akak sihat, okay buat research, itu dah nampak personal sikit. Dari segi professional pun kita ada, in term of professional pun kita ada, between you and your supervisor. So we need this combination, personal and professional between supervisor and students. So take care of each other and each other understanding each other is also one of the factors that can strengthen the relationship between supervisors and student. Okay, always take care each other. And sometimes tanya khabar, wish selamat hari raya, wish apa, selamat hari jadi ke, tak apa. Okay, semoga sihat, semoga jauh COVID-19, doa-doa macam tu actually is good between you and supervisor. So supaya dalam radar tu nama you tak hilang. You ask me, when I have a lot of student one day, kalau student tu dah sampai maximum, actually we can supervise 15 student, satu lecturer, one supervisor can supervise until 15. So far saya tak sampai 10. Saya pun kalau boleh tak nak sampai 10. Takut tak boleh fokus nanti. Okay, if possible tak nak lebih pada 10. Walaupun dibenarkan we can get until 15 students. Okay, sekali-sekali tanya khabar, WhatsApp supaya you masih dalam radar. Takut one day tiba-tiba supervisor pun dah lupakan you. You student mana topik apa you buat tu maknanya dah lama tak communicate sebab dah terlampau banyak sangat student dan student pun supervisor pun dah sibuk sampai lupa topik apa you buat. Maknanya tu you ada problem lah sebab you dah jarang communicate with your supervisors. So what kind of relationship? The relationship between student and supervisor is about as close as many marriage. Macam orang berkahwin and last as long as many marriage. Kalau boleh berkekalan hubungan tu. Tu sebab saya kata tadi sekali-sekala tu once we become very close, we become more sensitive. Between supervisor and student. Sebab dah rapat sangat, dulu tak rapat tak sensitif, dah rapat pula sensitif. Okay, so it's fairly good analogy in several ways. One important issue is compatibility. Compatibility is very important. Keserasian tu perlu ada. Tu yang saya kata chemistry tu between you and your supervisor. Kalau tak compatible tu macam susah sikit lah, tak ada chemistry. Okay, you kata A, dia kata B. Okay, you setuju, dia tak setuju. Kalau dah nampak kat arah situ tu, maybe I suggest you change your supervisor. Hopefully at the early semester. Tu saya kata you kena study awal. Jangan dah final year, dah third year, dah fourth year baru nak tukar supervisor. Melainkan macam saya, unfortunately supervisor saya meninggal. Okay, tak sihat, and then I need to change my supervisor. Saya kena tukar kali kedua supervisor. Satu saya reject dia, saya tukar orang lain. Dah dapat orang yang saya nak, dia sakit pula. Yang tu meninggal, kena tukar supervisor lagi. So alhamdulillah, walaupun dah tukar supervisor, saya dapat yang ciri-ciri supervisor yang saya idamkan. Alhamdulillah. Okay. And then in terms of effective communication, it's very important. Effective communication between student and supervisor is an important element in supervision. Without openness and honesty, need to be open, openness and honesty in communicating, then the meaning to be conveyed by student and supervisor will not carry true meaning. So both we need to be honest. Macam student saya cakap, yang ini saya rasa salah, yang ini akak kena betulkan, yang ini tolong betulkan. Walaupun perit nak mengatakan yang dia salah, tapi saya terpaksa cakap, yang ini akak tolong betulkan boleh tak? Contoh kalau student saya tua pada saya rasa yang ini salah, akak betulkan ini. So alhamdulillah saya dapat student yang memahami. Dia tak kisah kalau saya tegur. Kalau student pula ego, aku lagi tua, aku dah pengalaman kerja berpuluh tahun, kau baru 15 tahun kerja nak tegur aku. Kalau dapat student macam ni, masaklah saya boleh tegur lah dia. So alhamdulillah, student saya walaupun tua pada saya, boleh terima teguran. Okay, because I need to be honest. Kalau salah, cakap salah, walaupun perit. Okay, boleh tak buat pentolan? Ni cara ni salah akak buat ni, kena betulkan balik. Contoh, atau Ahmad, you punya it's a good effort, you dah buat sampai sini, tapi yang bahagian ni saya rasa salah, bahagian ni patut you kena tukar. So benda tu kadang-kadang kita sebagai supervisor, setengah supervisor berat nak tegur, tapi once dia tegur, kena ikutlah arahan dia. So without openness and honesty in communicating, then the meaning to be conveyed by student and supervisor will not carry through meaning. Both parties need to be good listeners and can talk openly, and the relationship needs to involve aspect of trust and honesty. Okay, trust and honesty, apa tadi? Openness tadi, okay, good listener. Ini semua skills that we need as a student and also as a supervisor. Jangan ingat supervisor je kena jadi good listener, student pun kena jadi good listeners. Okay, sama-sama lah sama-sama jadi good listeners, sama-sama honest, sama-sama ada trust. Barulah kita hidup aman damai as a supervisor and supervisee. Okay, macam husband and wife tadilah. Okay, kalau nak hubungan tu berkekalan. Okay, student also have a role to initiate and hold regular and consistent discussion with the lead supervisor as well as co-supervisor or other members of the supervisory committee. If a formal reunion cannot be held, students should ensure that there should be communication between student and supervisor at least once a month. So this is what they suggest, at least once a month. Annotation request. Oh, saya pun boleh approve Okay So far, any question, moderator? Oh, ada conteng-conteng pula. Oh, any question from the screen?
There's no question.
Okay, no question. I can proceed. So after at the end of the slide, nanti you boleh tanya soalan lagi. Mana nak pilih slide ni? Dah jadi conteng pula. Ni dia. Okay. So there are faculties or universities that have determined the frequency of student supervisor meetings. Throughout the duration of the program, frequency of student and supervisor meeting is dependent on the agreement that has been agreed upon and the extent to which the student research progresses. So when I did my PhD at UPM, kita orang kena ada meeting at least untuk satu semester. Maknanya saya ada 3 supervisor, saya kena kumpulkan mereka 3-3 ni dalam satu meeting to discuss with my research. Itu pun satu masalah juga, nak kumpulkan semua. Supervisor ni free, supervisor ni tak free, supervisor ni free, supervisor ni tak free. So nak kumpulkan diorang 3 serentak dengan saya tu, saya pun dah buat part time, buat PhD. And then yang supervisor pula semua lecturer yang kadang-kadang sibuk, ada yang dekan, ada yang timbalan dekan. So nak kumpulkan tu satu cabaran. So far at least for me, if you ask me, kalau you discuss dengan main supervisor pun for me dah cukup baik dah. So at the end, you akan dengar cakap main supervisor. Yang second, third tu membantu apa yang patut je. Tapi at the end sebenarnya dengan main supervisor tu lah yang paling penting. Okay, dengan main tu yang paling penting you kena jaga. So kalau sekali-sekala tak dapat jumpa second, third supervisor tu is okay, no worries. Sebab at the end you kena lebih dengar cakap the main supervisor then other supervisors. Second or third tu tak penting sangat. Okay, melainkan your main supervisor tu dia memang you buat research kuantitatif, tapi main supervisor you bukan orang kuanti. Yang tu you kena terpaksa lah second supervisor tu untuk bantu betul-betul lihat you punya kuantitatif. Okay, itu terpaksa second supervisor kena main peranan yang penting lah. Tapi kalau rasanya first supervisor dah boleh tengok everything, you punya LR supervisor dah boleh tengok metodologi, you punya finding, analisis semua macam boleh tengok. So rasanya second, third tu tak berapa penting sangat pun. Cuma kadang-kadang dapat nasihat tambahan saja, additional advice. Okay. The faculty. So ni gambar ni actually what makes your supervisor happy? If the student can publish more in general, especially kalau student tu sangat aktif publish dekat Scopus, publish dekat WS, Web of Science, iaitu sebenarnya boleh menyebabkan supervisor happy. Sebab apa? Supervisor pun ada KPI dia untuk universiti. Dia kena publish berapa artikel setahun, especially at Scopus or WS. So kalau you student dapat bantu, itu suatu rahmat bagi supervisor sebab student tu dah bantu supervisor capai KPI dia to publish paper. Macam saya when I was student, PhD student, alhamdulillah saya dapat grant FRGS. Okay, so dalam grant tu saya letak nama supervisor saya. So bonus pada supervisor saya walaupun ketua tu saya, tapi supervisor saya kat UPM tu pun memang KPI UiTM sebab saya yang dapat sebagai ketua. Tapi supervisor saya tu pun dapatlah KPI dia untuk grant untuk tahun tu. Okay, so betapa supervisor lebih rasa ni lah happy bila student publish paper, bila student dapat grant. So supervisor pun dapat tumpang sekali. So last year saya dapat grant lagi FRGS, dapat jadi ketua FRGS sekali lagi. Walaupun dah berapa tahun dah 7-8 tahun dah tak jumpa saya punya supervisor ni yang dekat UPM tu, I still put his name in my research grant FRGS. So dia rasa happy sangat walaupun dia dah bukan, saya dah bukan student dia, tapi saya masih kenangkan dia. Sekali-sekala saya buat paper letak nama dia, sekali-sekala saya dapat grant letak nama dia, dia pun seronok lah kita bantu dia KPI dia untuk tahun tu. So tahun tu dia dapatlah paper, dia dapat grant, so dia rasa happy. Student dia macam kita rasa kita hargai dia, dia rasa dihargai, macam tu lah. Okay. So student advisors are encouraged to record meeting activities in a logbook. Logbook ni actually dekat UPM memang ada, kita diberikan satu buku, setiap kali meeting kita kena buat report. Tapi so far saya jadi supervisor dekat UiTM ni tak terima pula logbook. Kita pandai-pandai je lah catat bila tarikh kita jumpa, bila kita bincang, apa yang kita buat. That's our own initiative to record. Tapi I believe bila setiap kali saya buat perjumpaan dengan student akan record pakai handset tu lah, tak adalah record pakai buku log apa semua. So the student supervisor write down what was decided in the meeting, what the student research progress, and what the student should do next. The two also need to schedule their next reunion. Each meeting ended with both parties signing the book. So for me, as long as you can meet, you can discuss with supervisor once a month at least, for me that's okay. Itu pun dah cukup baik dah. Okay, tapi ada student yang sedar dia langsung tak update. Itu kita ada student. Kalau saya ada seorang student, dia terus terang, dia kata nak bantu suami, so dia ambil cuti khas. Okey, tak apa. Ada seorang student lagi, dia kata dia baru dapat kerja sebagai lecturer. So dah dapat kerja lecturer ni, dia sibuk sikit. So saya pun faham. So dah sebulan lebih tak jumpa. Okey, tak apa. Tapi jangan tak jumpa teruslah. Okay, so dah buat PhD part time ni is quite challenging. Dan you dah buat part time, you kerja and member is quite challenging. That one I can understand sebab saya pun buat part time bila saya buat PhD. So bila saya jadi supervisor, saya sangat memahami student yang part time ni. So this log can be useful resource in recording activities performed throughout the student's program of study. This logbook may feel like giving load at the beginning of its use because there are certain procedures and structures that need to be followed in using it. But when making it a practice, this logbook can help students manage these activities better. These logs are considered a form of contracted technology management to make supervision accountable in helping students complete their research assignment. So I believe that's all for my sharing session. Okay, actually I touched a bit my experience in my doing when I did my PhD. Okay, so whatever is to conclude, actually you try to have good chemistry with your supervisor, try to have good relationship with your supervisor, and try to adjust yourself. Kalau dalam teori kita panggil social accommodation theory, SAT. You cuba sesuaikan diri you dengan supervisor you. You letakkan diri you yang sesuai supaya you dengan supervisor you ada chemistry yang sesuai. So you need to adapt. Kena sesuaikan diri. Kita namakan social accommodation theory. Okay, so macam saya kata, it's not easy to change supervisor. Kalau boleh tukar supervisor, kalau rasa tak sesuai, tukar awal-awal. If you cannot change your supervisor, just proceed and then harungilah dengan tabah. Okay, so I think that's all from me. Thank you for listening. And if you have any question, please do so. You can ask me now. Okay, I pass it to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the informative talk, Dr. Rauf. So now we have come to the Q&A session. So if there's any question from the participant, please use the chat features now to ask, okay? So the first question is from Mr. Taufik. He asks, can the PhD student arrange a fixed time with supervisor in a semester and not ad hoc?
Okay, for me that one is very impossible because sometimes we as a lecturer, sometimes we have class, and then after class sometimes we have meeting with faculty, meeting with other faculty, meeting with the management. So dia macam ni saya ada last time before PKP saya ada kata kalau if possible kita buat meeting hari Jumaat saja. If you want to get my supervision, we can get my supervision only on Friday. So kebetulan hari Jumaat saya tak ada kelas. But actually it depends. Memang saya kata on paper hari Jumaat saya free. Tapi Jumaat tu kadang-kadang kita ada meeting lain. Tiba-tiba kita ada program yang kita tak plan. Tu sometimes we need to adjust. Kadang-kadang tak adalah ikut every time during Jumaat. Kadang-kadang kita buat hari lain juga. Tapi tak ada masalah at the early stage. Mungkin you can check with your supervisor schedule. Mungkin supervisor tu macam saya. Dulu saya free hari Jumaat tak ada kelas. Dulu So memang saya plan kalau boleh meeting tu biarlah hari Jumaat. Me and my supervisor, me and my students. Tapi kalau hari Jumaat tu saya ada meeting lain, saya cakaplah kita ganti dengan hari lain lah. Okay, I think better you check also with your supervisor punya schedule lah. Tapi nak kata confirm Jumaat free, confirm hari Jumaat you boleh ni tak juga kadang-kadang mustahil juga kadang-kadang. Okay, good question.
Okay, so next the question is from Mrs. Surani Sophie. She asked, Doktor boleh respon tak kes saya dengan ada isu dengan examiner and student jadi bangsa?
Dengan examiner this one actually during your defense proposal ataupun dah viva? Dia isu dia tak sama either during your defense proposal or during your viva, after viva.
Doktor, isu supervisor dengan examiner yang ada isu. Kes supervisor and examiner ada isu, and then kita sebagai student ni yang jadi victim lah, jadi mangsa. During viva pun banyaklah kena.
Okay, for your information Puan Suraini okay, biasanya kalau viva supervisor dia akan pilih kawan-kawan dia sendiri. Macam what through my experience, supervisor cakap dengan saya, you ada tak kawan-kawan yang boleh jadi panel untuk viva you? Supervisor ask me first. Kalau saya ada kenal orang profesor-profesor mana yang boleh jadi external examiner ke apa ke, so supervisor tanya saya, ada kawan tak? And then saya kata saya cuba cari, then tak dapat. And then supervisor saya cuba cari dia punya kawan-kawan untuk jadi contoh external examiner. So of course kalau kawan dia sendiri, biasanya kawan tu akan tolong kawan lah. Tu yang kadang-kadang kita selamat bila supervisor kita yang pilih kan. Saya tak tahulah kalau universiti lain untuk external examiner ke panel-panel ni kadang-kadang universiti yang tentukan. Takut dia dapat panel yang memang sorry to say kadang-kadang ada pensyarah yang tak ngam dengan pensyarah lain. Okay, dapat panel yang pensyarah tu tak suka dengan pensyarah ni, and then student jadi mangsa. So my advice is, if this thing happen, okay, kita ni yang penting kita nak siapkan PhD kita. So kalau panel tu dah tegur, buat je lah correction tu. Melainkan kita dah buat correction, dah ikut arahan dia, and then still dia kata dah ikut arahan dia pun dia kata salah. Yang itu barulah kita fight ke atas. Sebab so far it happened to my student, so panel dah kata major correction, benda ni salah, walaupun kadang-kadang saya sebagai supervisor saya rasa benda ni tak salah, benda ni betul, tapi panel kata salah. So saya tak naklah benda ni jadi panjang sangat, kita ikut je lah arahan panel. So tak apa, bagi saya benda ni is a process to make my student become more matured. Mungkin one day bila dia graduate nanti dia akan jadi seorang yang lebih bertimbang rasa, lebih matang, and then tak mengikut emosi. Mungkin dia belajar daripada experience dia bila dia buat PhD. So hopefully one day dia kalau dia rasa benda tu tak baik, dia janganlah buat benda tu ke orang lain. Cukuplah dia sendiri yang mengalaminya. Okay, I think that's one kita lesson learn lah. Kita belajar and then kita jangan dendam dengan orang. Kita jangan buat ke orang. Student kita kena tak apa. Tapi kita ikut aja. Macam saya cakap student saya pun 2 kali major correction. Tak apa, 2 kali major, kita ikut je apa dia nak. It's okay. Because that is the process. Mungkin adik kemah dia, you dapat examiner yang macam ni. Bukan kadang kita nak cakap sebagai orang Islam, kita tak nak. Tapi Allah dah tulis, dia dah jadi examiner kita. Dia lah jadi panel kita, dia lah jadi supervisor kita. Semua ni actually Allah dah tulis. Kadang-kadang benda macam ni berlaku, kita just follow the flow lah. InsyaAllah apa yang berlaku dekat you tu adik kemah dia. Itu pandangan peribadi saya lah. Kalau kita asyik nak melawan, tak puas hati, saya takut benda tu lagi makan masa. So kalau panel tu tegur, tak apalah, kita ikut je lah. Dia ada kuasa sebagai panel kan, dia yang menilai, kita ikut je lah. Tapi kalau kita dah ikut cara dia pun, dia saja cari cara lain, dan itu kita boleh bawa ke atas lah. Itu bagi saya lah, tak nak panjang cerita. Okay, sorry kalau jawapan ni you all tak setuju. Ini cuma pandangan peribadi saya sebab benda ni berlaku dekat student saya. Okay, Puan Suriani. Okay, is there any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, is there any question from the participants? So if there's no any other question, thank you so much, Dr. Rao, for answering. Finally, we have come to the end of the webinar. We would like to thank for the presenter for the excellent presentation and to audience for the active participation. On behalf of the organizer, I hope this session is beneficial and can help everyone to understand more and have a better understanding of the topic. I have to admit, I have learned how important it is to have good relationship with our supervisors, not only supervisors, but with everyone around us for that matter. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today's workshop. Our next workshop will be next Friday, 23rd July 2021. So wait for our poster really soon. Once again, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our speaker, Associate Professor Abdul Rauf Haji Ridwan, for being here today. That's all for now. Thank you for your attention and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day to all.
Okay, wassalam. Good luck everyone. I wish you all the best. Take care. Jumpa lagi. Assalamualaikum.
On behalf of the organizer, I would like to ask all participants to fill in the attendance and feedback form via the link shared in the box. Okay. E-certificate will be provided via email and training hours will be registered for all your ITM staffs. Thank you.